reading of selected scenes from Severe Love and Violin film script written and directed by Rosemary Kirimpa. Reproduction prohibited. Internal. Anthony's living room, evening. Anthony plays Arensky's trio on the violin, and tears well up in his eyes. He puts the violin on the table and leans against the window. Through the half-open shutter, the sun casts moving shadows on his face. A loud knock on the door. Anthony opens. Irene comes in. She carries two identical dolls in a twin basket. Anthony. Goodness gracious me. What is this? Irene. Irene's babies. Anthony. You mean dolls? Irene. Babies. She presses a back button on each, and they start to cry simultaneously. Anthony puts fingers in his ears. Anthony. Cut the yelling out, please. Irene. I am training. The mother says I need to be around them 24/7. Anthony. Good grief, you get paid to babysit toys. Irene. Mommy nanny trainers. Call them proxy babies, if you will. Beat. Irene continued. And these are the blood babies. She shows a picture of her and twin babies on her cell phone screen. She pushes past Anthony and stands in the midst of the room. She sets the basket on the floor and picks the dolls up. Anthony. Okay, Mom. What next? He relieves one of the dolls from Irene. He and Irene sit on the sofa, each holding their doll. Irene, how was your day? Anthony, no good. Irene, come on, Beethoven protégé. You can't just have grief. Anthony shakes his head. He rubs his palm against his shirt, where the printout is concealed. Irene, mental block for the music master. Anthony, tell me about it. Irene. I gave you space with her, didn't I? Anthony. With who? Irene points at the violin on the table. Irene, the missus. Anthony. Very close, yet too far. A perfectly harmonious mother of two. Irene. You are like a jigsaw. Anthony. What? Irene. You talk in parables, like a mystic. Anthony. I sometimes feel like a misfit. He stands up, seating his doll on the sofa. He picks his violin, then clears his throat. He talks, while punctuating his back-quote speech, with strums on the violin. Anthony continued. STIM Anthony, aspiring music grandmaster, 21st century Beethoven reincarnated. He curtsies. The printout of Irene's email falls out of his shirt and drops onto the floor, face downwards. Irene. Spewing new music notes. Let me see the Grandmaster's new masterpiece. She makes as if she is going to stand up. Anthony. Relax. Anthony panics. He picks up the paper before Irene does. He folds it roughly and puts it in his pocket. Anthony continued. I will compose a song for you, ma'am, if you and the babies promise to listen and not yell at me. Irene. We don't yell at you? Irene gathers the babies on her lap. Anthony starts playing the violin, then the babies start to cry again. Irene continued. Hush. She presses the button in their backs, and they stop crying. Irene continued. Sorry, that was a timer for their next round of attention. Anthony. What do I know? Irene. It's feeding time. See you later. She moves to the inner rooms, carrying the dolls on her hips. Internal. Anthony's bedroom night. Anthony sits on his bed, in red pajamas. He holds the framed printout of Irene's email. He puts it on his left side. He rolls a white shirt into a big doll and places it opposite him. He puts a violin string across its neck, then addresses it. Anthony. There you are, Doc. I need you to diagnose the chemistry between this woman. Points at Irene's picture. Anthony continued. And this man. Points at himself. Anthony continued. And this melodious witness. Retrieves violin from under the blanket and places it near the doctor. Anthony continued. And if it is out of their own will that they want to enter this union. He opens a black velvet box with 2 gold rings, then places it in front of the doctor. Anthony continued. Then let it be known whether we are pronounceable as hubby and wife till death do us part. No divorce. No adultery. No craziness of that magnitude. Anthony continued. You can't do that? Pete? Anthony continued. For real. What kind of doctor are you? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Internal. Dr. Polanski's office continuous. Dr. Polanski sits facing Anthony. Dr. Polanski. What's bothering you, young man? Anthony. My house is upside down. Dr. Polanski. Tell me about the fire outbreak. Anthony tries to sling the violin to his shoulder. It falls down with a clanging sound. Anthony. Sorry, sir. He picks it up, grabs a clean white tissue from the desk, and starts to wipe it vigorously. Dr. Polanski. Do you want to talk about the fire? Anthony. There was no fire. Just a woman. And babies. I mean dolls. And fireworks. Dr. Polanski. A woman set your house on fire. Anthony. Yes, I mean no. Life hasn't been the same since she came into my house. She is taking over everything. My kitchen, my living room, my music, my feelings. Dr. Polanski. So there is an actual woman in your house. Anthony. Yes. With 2 crybabies. Bundles of trouble. And a wacko crybaby cell phone. Dr. Polanski. This woman, where did she come from? Anthony. She answered my ad for a roommate. But I didn't know her real intentions. She is driving me nuts. Dr. Polanski. Do you really feel crazy? Anthony. Severely. In love. Dr. Polanski. She drives you crazy, yet you are severely in love with her. Anthony nods his head. This was a reading of selected scenes from Severe Love and Violin film script, written and directed by Rosemary Kirimbach. Become part of our innovative and highly creative production team to bring this extraordinary picture to the big screen. Reproduction prohibited.